Skylark in Zimbabwe.
He's alright. My wife doesn't like me without curls, so he makes sure to keep the curls going, you know. If I shave it off, I'm done.
Full name, please, sir.
Full name, Benjamin Mario Faraon Jr.
You mentioned earlier you're not from Hawaii.
I grew up in New York, Long Island, New York. Been here in Hawaii about 20 years now, but, New York is still home to me.
Long Island.
Long Island.
Did you surf there?
Surfed all the time.
Is that where your love for surfing started?
It is where it started, or it's where I learned how to surf. But my genuine passion for surfing came from here in Hawaii.
Let's start with you as a young man. Let's start with you growing up in Long Island.
It was cold, but it was. I lived in a really small neighborhood on a bay, right near the ocean.
That's cool. Any siblings?
I have one sister. Parents married, still married today. I think they just hit their 40 something years, 38 years, something like that. Inspiring.
So you had a stable upbringing.
I did. My parents, my sister, very, very loving, very caring, very supportive.
Where did you surf?
I surfed in Long Beach, Long Island. Lincoln Boulevard was, my first upbringing where I learned how to, I learned how to surf here. I was standing up on a boogie board when I was a tiny kid. Mm-hmm. And then we used to come, being that I said my dad was born and raised here, we used to come out here a lot. My mom worked for the airlines. We flew for free. We usually had a place to stay. So most family vacations were here.
Okay.
And my first wave on a surfboard was in Kailua, Kalama Beach. I might have been like 9 years old.
Did you ever think about getting into surfing? Did you ever want to make it like a full-time thing?
I think or maybe not every, at least for me, who wouldn't want to be a pro surfer? Especially that time, all those guys that just get paid to surf and live that life. It was so appealing,
So it did cross your mind a few times?
Oh, more than a few.
Coming out to Hawaii must have been quite a cool thing for a kid in New York City. So now you're a young man. You are surfing. What were you doing for a job?
I worked for, when I first started, I worked for XL Wetsuits. Was there for a little bit, and then for the majority of the time, I was working at a surf shop at the mall. Did that for, pretty much through college and after. Left the surf shop for a little bit. I worked for the airlines. I worked in a restaurant, but my heart always brought me back to the surf industry. Don't think I necessarily had the skill at that, to be a pro surfer, but I love surfing. So, I was working in the surf industry, try to live that dream a little bit and surf and get paid as much as I can. For the future, for the longevity of it, it wasn't for me. But, while I was there, while I did it, I had fun, great people around me with the few brands that I worked with.
So some of the brands that you've worked for, XL?
And then I worked for Rip Curl and Quicksilver.
And of all those brands, which did you enjoy the most?
Quicksilver.
Okay.
Easy question. Well, when I was with them, they took care of us. They took care of me.
By then, I'm assuming you had met a lovely lady.
Sure did.
And decided that you're going to progress from being a carefree young man just working in the surf industry, surfing, and you're going to become a family man?
It was always on my mind to be, always wanted to have a family. But I think meeting my now wife, she saved my life, man. She had my back through everything.
What do you mean she saved your life?
I quit my job with Quicksilver not knowing what the hell I was going to do right when I met my wife or started dating her. And I'm like, fuck, she stuck with me when I didn't have a job. And, and I was in love with her from the start. And I was like, and she's sticking by me through this, we got something here, and it wasn't like I was looking for somebody to live off of. This world has been so materialistic where, I was like, I can't afford to take you out, but I could cook a good steak if you want to come over, I'll cook for you. And, so I feel like that was my, part of my love language to her. Actually, I got a job working for an insurance brokerage as an account manager. And, it paid the bills, but that was not for me. Wearing a tucked in shirt, how to cover my tattoos. And
So they had protocols
yeah,
on how you need to look.
I was an account manager.
Oh, okay.
Not even meeting with people, bro. I was on the phone, with tattoos and a beard.
A little bit too street.
I guess. Started making money, decent money, and it made me somebody I wasn't, being cooped up in an office with two guys I had nothing in common with, staring at a computer and answering phone calls and dealing with numbers. The numbers was fun, but on the flip side, fortunately, that gave me the perspective on what is it you want to do. That made me think, where do you see yourself? Who's the person you want to be? What do you want to do? If, we all have to work, what is it that's going to bring me joy and pay the bills?
So this is pre the pandemic.
Way before the pandemic. It's ultimately what led me to barbering. I was cutting even while I was with Quicksilver, I had the interest in it and I was cutting some friends here and there. I kind of had my own hours, if I got the job done, and I was going to a barbershop over in Chinatown. It was just to get my haircut, and I was kind of consistently picking the brain of my barber, and expressed a lot of interest in him. And he gave me as much as I would ask. The office I was in was not too far from that barber shop. So I was like, I could dig out, get my haircut or go hang out, whatever it is. I was there more and getting my haircut more often. Now I was making some money, so I was like, I get my haircut every 2 weeks now. And still cutting some friends. And, when I was talking to the barber, he had mentioned he had a class. I was like, I've been cutting some friends. Can I come by? And that class is what changed everything. The haircut I did, and I think it was probably trash at the time, but I thought it was great. And he was so encouraging. You train a little bit more, you learn this craft. He's like, if this is your passion, coming here and cutting my friend, that was fun. That didn't feel like a job, and my friend looked good. I didn't make any money, of course, but I was like, man, but I'm looking at all these other barbers. I'm like, they get to do this all day. And that's when I was like, oh, this is sick.
In America, traditionally, there's a lot of barbershops, especially inner city barbershops, where it's almost like a little bit of it's a meeting point. It's a club where people come together and they sit and talk about what's going on in their neighborhood or what's happening with their family. Have you got any funny anecdotes or any stories, like some of the craziest stuff that you've heard come out of someone's mouth?
Man, I'd have to say this isn't funny. This is probably one of the craziest things I ever heard. There was a guy that I cut maybe every couple weeks. We have some things in common. He's quite a bit older than me, He was coming often, and one day he brought up about the first time he committed murder. And that's something where I'm like, what the heck? What did he just say to me? Did I just hear that correctly? And I kind of just went on about the haircut. How do you respond to that? And he proceeded to say, he did a lot of bad things in his life and he's moving on, but he still gets the urge. And I'm like, after that, I was like, I don't know how to handle this situation. Do I call the cops or, I'm like, it's a weird, I've never heard somebody say that. So I was just like, he could have just been saying things to get a reaction, and I just kind of brushed it off. But he's never been back in the shop after that.
So you've been in this establishment now for how many years?
This will be my 6th year.
So you were here pre-pandemic?
Pre-pandemic.
And then the pandemic hit. No haircuts?
No, nothing, man. We shut the doors and I think together, all total, almost 3.5 months without working.
And how was that?
Another double-edged sword, man. It was difficult. Lucky I had a little bit of savings and we did get some assistance from that federal relief or the state relief, whatever that was. It was difficult being financially strapped, but at that point, my kids were at an age where it's very fortunate to spend so much time with them. We had enough money to pay rent, feed ourselves, feed the kids, and I got to surf every day.
We chatted about it yesterday. You took some pretty clever measures to try and counteract, right?
Yes, we did. We did a prepaid package.
Prepaid haircuts.
Prepaid haircuts, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. We made like an Instagram post. Buy 2 haircuts, buy 3, buy 4, get the 5th one half off. I forget how we broke it down. This is a way that you could help the barbers and you can help keep the barbershop open, so the shop can still pay its rent. And, we had a lot of generous clients who contributed. I actually just had a guy yesterday. I think he bought like 12 haircut beard trims and he hasn't had a haircut in like 2 years. One of my good friends. First time he came in, I'm like, bro, you still have like 8 or 9 cuts going, right? And he's like, I could just pay. And I'm like, you can, or you can use what and I want to do right by them. They helped me and the shop in the time of need. We still, very thankful to all them. Like,
Ben the barber, surfer, father, husband. It's been absolutely awesome spending some time with you, Ben.
Pleasure's all mine, Steve.
And